Welcome to the App Trainer's Microsoft Office Excel 2010 Basic Video Series. Today's video is going to focus on Unit 2, Entering and Editing Data. This is a look at the complete outline we're eventually going to be going over in the Basic Video Series. Specifically, today's video is going to focus on topic A here, which is going to be entering text and values. Hopefully you had a chance to look over the Unit 1 videos, because we are going to be using and incorporating some of the techniques we learned, especially in topic C, which was on navigation and selection techniques. But otherwise, again, this is still basic level. You don't really need to have any prior knowledge or usage of the program before following today's video. So otherwise, thanks for watching and enjoy. Okay, welcome back to another video in the Microsoft Excel 2010 Basic Video Series brought to you by the App Trainer. Today we're going to focus on topic A in Unit 2. It's going to be on entering and editing text and values. And if you're interested in taking the Microsoft Office Specialist exam, you'll be interested in knowing that this video it addresses topics 2.2 and topic 2.1, which is constructing cell data and applying autofill. So let's talk about just basic text and values first. To enter any types of data, any type of data, whether it's a number, whether it's text, whether it's just a value, all you basically have to do is click on the cell you want to put information in, and you just start simply typing, right? So here, if I click on A1, I start typing in the App Trainer, and then when I'm finished typing in the data, I just hit enter or tab or down, and that will enter the data into that cell. Now, that's provided there's nothing else next to it, right? It displays 100%. You can see the full word. Now, let's say I were to go into cell B2 and type in today's date, which is October 11th, and I hit enter. You're going to see that it covers up whatever's in A1, right? And that doesn't mean that the text gets cut off. It's just you're not able to see it because the cell width isn't large enough. And we'll talk about how to change that again in some of the later units in the basic course. But for now, we're going to just stick to entering basic text and values. So again, simply clicking on the cell and typing will input the data. If you want to edit any of the data that's in the cell, you can simply double click on it, and that will put Excel into edit mode, right? You can tell by the bottom left hand corner again, that's on the status bar there, it tells you what mode you're in, and you'll see the cursor coming up in the cell as well. That just means Excel's allowing you to change the data that's in that specific cell, right? When you're done, you hit enter and it will go to the next cell. For those of you remembering the keyboard shortcuts, you can also hit F2 when you've selected a cell, and that will also put the program in edit mode, and you'll be able to edit any of the text in that cell. Additionally, you can click on the formula bar up here, and that will also put the program in edit mode where you're able to change whatever's in the cell. Okay, so pretty simple. Remember, as we learned in Unit 1, one click on the cell is to select it, but to actually edit it, you've got to double click the cell. Okay, so pretty straightforward. If you'd like to go ahead and follow along while I put in some data, feel free. I'm going to delete what's in A1 by simply clicking on it and hitting the delete button. And otherwise, I'm just going to put in some very generic data here of a company that I made up with some very basic data. So in B1, I'm going to go ahead and put in the name of my company. I'm going to call it Pacific Spices. Okay, and I'm just going to hit down or enter again to move to the cell below it. And in A4, let's go ahead and put in our first header. I'm going to put in month, and in B4, I'm going to put in region 1. And in A5, I'll put in the first month, January. And in B5, I'll go ahead and put in the first sales figure, which is going to be 21,000. And again, I'm hitting either tab to move the cell to the right, or enter to move the cell down after I put that data in. Okay, so some very basic data we've got in there, very simple to do. I'm going to put in a couple more lines or a couple more cells worth of data here. I'm going to go into A2, and I'll give it the title Extra Sales Projections. I'll hit enter there. And let's say, I wanted to change the extra sales projections to bonus sales projections for the northern region. So do you remember what the keyboard shortcut was for putting the program into edit mode? Well, if you guessed F2, you were correct. So I'm going to hit F2, and I'll go in there and just hit backspace after the A to clear out the word extra, so I can type in bonus, and then I'll just use my arrow keys to go all the way to the end and continue typing in for the northern region here. Okay, so when I'm done, again, I will hit enter, and I'm going to just continue on and fill out a little bit more information here. Maybe in A3 I want to type in this is the final version, and I'm going to hit tab twice and maybe put in that it's confidential in C3. Okay, so very plain looking spreadsheet so far, but that's okay. We're keeping things simple here. All right. So if you wanted to delete the entire cell, so let's say maybe I had second thoughts and I want to get rid of what's in C3, the whole cell, right? Well, instead of hitting F2 and hitting backspace over all the characters, right? That would take a while. I'm just going to click once on the cell, C3, and I'm going to just hit the delete key on my keyboard, and that will get rid of the entire cell. Okay. Now another trick that comes in very handy when you use Excel, and this is a tool we're going to be using quite a bit in the future videos, so I want to make sure you get comfortable with it and you know how to use it. This is one of the strengths of Excel. It's called autofill, and basically Microsoft Excel kind of takes a look at the data that you have in your spreadsheet and it interprets it, and you supply the program basically a range that you want the program to fill in, and Excel takes a look at the data around it and it tries to predict what data is going to fill the area around the values that you have in specific cells. So what I mean by that, let's take a look at A5, right? So I have January in A5, and let's say I wanted to type in all the month headers all the way down to D16, but I didn't want to have to sit here and go one by one typing them all out. Well, if you look closely in a cell that you've selected, again just by simply single clicking it, you'll see in the bottom right of that selected cell there's a slightly enlarged black box, right in the bottom right corner of that cell, and if you put your cursor right on top of that black box, it's going to change to a very thin plus, right? And if I were to click on that and hold and drag either to the right or to the left or up or down, you're going to see as I'm doing that, the month names are going to appear to the bottom right, and I'm going to go all the way down to A16 where it says December, and then I'll simply release the left mouse button and it fills in all the data by itself. So it predicts, okay, we started with January, and logically what would come next in that series would be February, and it's all formatted the same way consistently as A5 is formatted. So a very handy tool to use. Again, that fills in, that works with any direction, whether I'm filling up, down, left, or right. So just to demonstrate here, let's say I've got region 1 in B4. If I wanted to autofill this all the way to region 4, I can simply click on the bottom right box again, right, the autofill corner, and just drag to the right 3 cells and then release, and that gives me all the regions filled in. Okay, so one thing to be careful about though with this autofill is it only works for established patterns, right? So what I mean by that is take a look at B5. I've got 21,000 in that cell, and if I were to try to autofill this all the way down to B16, it doesn't know what type of pattern I have going here, if I'm increasing by a certain amount or decreasing by a certain amount, right? Or if I want it to stay the same, it doesn't really know. So what's going to happen if I try to do it is it's simply just going to copy the values and fill it all the way down as 21,000. Okay, so I'm going to select the values under B5 and just delete those because I don't want all the same values there. But now let's say I have 22,000 in B6. So now I've established a pattern of values that are increasing by 1,000. So if I were to select both of these values now and then click and drag on the autofill with both of these highlighted, right, that's the key. Now as I drag down, and I release over B16, it's going to increase by 1,000 because I've established an increase of 1,000 over the next 10 or 11 cells. So it's able to fill those in. Okay. Now, again, be very careful that you're actually clicking right on top of that bottom right-hand enlarged black square, because if you're a little bit off and the cursor isn't that thin plus, you're going to confuse the program a little bit, and instead it's going to do a move instead of an autofill. Okay, so be very careful there. All right, so that's your autofill. Make sure you feel comfortable doing that, because that's a technique we're going to be using quite a bit in the units to come. Okay, so another example of some of the powerful tools that Excel has to offer. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next video.